Uh. To whoever may need this nugget of encouragement, things will be alright, so quit your worrying. I get it.
What's good, you guys? Welcome back to For the Underdogs podcast. I hope this episode finds you well. Today, I want to talk about putting ourselves under chosen stress. There's an actual word for good chosen stress, and it's called eustress, which is a positive form of stress that has beneficial effects on our health, motivation, performance, and just our emotional well-being when we're setting challenging goals or learning new skills, taking on new projects, starting new jobs, getting into shape, things like that. I think we have all dealt with the other type of stress that we consider negative, and that's called distress. It's typically tough on us mentally or physically, but can also cause us to feel depressed, anxious, or overwhelmed at times. And I feel like when we think about stress, majority of the time we give it a negative connotation, and that isn't always said to be true. There's an article from Stanford researchers that actually suggests the way we view stress can help us perform better. And just to give you a little insight on it, it was over the course of a week, researchers randomly assigned employees at a financial institution to three groups. In the stress debilitating group, it was 164 employees who watched a video that portrayed stress as harmful, causing illness and making mistakes at work. In the stress is enhancing group, 163 people watch videos that portrayed stress as useful, improving immunity, creativity, and work quality under pressure. In the control group, 61 people did not watch any of the videos. So after a week, the researchers discovered that people who had watched the stress is enhancing videos believed that stress had even more positive effects. In contrast, though, the people that had watched the stress is debilitating video thought stress had more harmful effects. In the second study, the researchers that showed the people with the stress enhancing mindset actually responded better to stress. So that just gives you a little insight on the way that we view stress can definitely alter our perception of it as a whole. And I want to share my experience on why I feel like putting ourselves under chosen stress allows us to experience personal growth. If you follow me on social media, you've seen that I had spent some time with the Los Angeles Rams doing a coaching gig. The experience was so dope within itself. I mean, to be in a position of having access to an organization is a privilege. And I know that those opportunities are rare from a former player standpoint. Not a lot of guys get the opportunity to spend that amount of time with an organization. And I'm glad I'm in the mental headspace of coming to terms with my career, because I was truly able to be open-minded with the whole experience. You know, conversations were heard with a broad perspective, and I don't know if I could have had that same experience without the work I've put in to let go of any disappointments I've had from my days as a player. That being said, being around the game is so special because in the NFL, I mean, let's call it what it is. It's a high stress environment in a good way, though. You know, when speaking in terms of performance, if you can manage the mental gymnastics, which I would say there were times I wasn't the best as a player handling the mental gymnastics of the league, that's irrelevant now, but the whole pressure is a privilege saying. And by that, I mean, as leaders or top performers in our respective careers, we should visualize pressure as a privilege and not something that hinders us. It's not something to avoid. Instead, it's more so something to lean into and make work for ourselves, not against ourselves. Pressure only becomes eustress only if we view it as something pushing us to be better. So we can only place it in the category of a good type of stress if we view it as something that's motivating us to go further. there's so many psychological benefits of when we put ourselves under chosen stress. Think about it in terms of working out. Essentially, when we are working out, what we're actually doing is putting our bodies and minds under chosen stress. When you start a new job or business, that feeling you have of being nervous in your mind, prepping you to be under eustress, we've become so accustomed to believing that feeling is distress, when really that feeling is the opposite. We chose that new opportunity. We chose that workout or that new business venture. It's actually a good thing. We're progressing. I literally experienced this when I got the call to come join the Rams. The day I landed in LA, I was headed to work, and I remember feeling that anticipation about what was coming when the responsibility of being a coach presented itself. Whenever I'm in those moments or I'm having those moments within my mind, I typically start to ask myself the logical questions of what's actually happening. So for me, it's more about grounding myself. So I started asking myself, okay, why do you feel anxious? What's causing you to think that this is too much for you? Is this too much for you? And soon enough, my mind just starts answering the questions, and it really calms me down and brings me back down to earth. So what was I feeling? I was being pushed out of my comfort zone and into a space of higher responsibility, higher pressure. In the past, I may have let that feeling deter me away from doing something, but not with this. I felt like I had to make a choice to just do it, I couldn't ponder on it. I just needed to go all in. I actually heard a great quote from my time spent with the Rams, and it was from Coach McVay, and I really liked it. And it was, in life, we either grow to be thermometers or thermostats. The process behind that is thermometers typically go up and down based on the environment they're in. Everything is in a reactive state. On the flip side, thermostats regulate the temperature around them. It's dictating or choosing what is best based on how it works. And I thought that was so enlightening because it's us, we just go up and down based on what life throws at us, or do we regulate what we do and choose the things that help better us based on what we want? I've been away from the game for some time now, and coming back on the coach's side opened my mind to see how much thought goes into prepping players. Everything is built to stress the player during the week. Practice is eustress. I didn't look at it like that when I played, but now that I have that perspective, practice is a good type of stress. For my athletes out there, your week of practice before you compete against someone, it's always harder than the actual competition itself. The plan in the NFL, and I'm sure across other sports, is to make the practice harder than what the game will be. And I like to relate my time playing to life in general because it has so many similarities when I reflect on it. Practice, which I consider eustress, was never easy. Practice was always tough. That's what it took to win, though, in the grand scheme of things. I was always more tired in practice than I was in a game. It was supposed to be that way. The mental and physical workload was put in during the week so that on Sunday, when it was game time, I could step out on the field confidently and let the chips fall where they fall, And it was really the reassurance of knowing I had prepared 100% by being put under pressure or stress the entire week. The studying is always harder than the actual test. So why is it any different in our life experience? Why is it any different in our life experience? We have to choose the pressure. And then from that, our minds and bodies begin to be in a space where we can confidently control our performances. but we can't get there by choosing the path of least resistance. In my experience, whenever I've chosen the path of least resistance, I've always had regrets after the fact. Like, damn, I wish I had or could have done more or done this better. And I feel like the weight of regret is so much heavier than the feeling of satisfaction of just doing the thing, in my opinion. I feel like we all know people in our lives that would excel at something, but the fear of adding new stress is holding them back. And it's really hard to watch, you know, when you see potential in yourself or potential in people close to you that you love, but they're allowing the fear of new stress to hold them back and not move forward with whatever it is. And it could be something great. It could change their life. But because of their connotation with stress, it's really hindered them from an aspect of progressing forward. And I think it's okay to realize that, you know, we're feeling that feeling of stress. I mean, it means that you actually care, you know, lean into that even more. Like, why do I feel this way about opening a business, starting something new, getting in shape? You actually care about it. And in my opinion, it's only considered bad stress if you don't act on it, if you let those thoughts in the back of your mind overtake your ability to actually do what you're trying to accomplish. I know some people will be listening to this and they're wondering, how do they go about introducing their mind to the idea of eustress, which is the good type of stress? And there's so many ways to introduce yourself to the positive side of stress. And just for some examples, in personal development field, it's about pursuing new ideas, finding a new hobby that requires you to use new skills. For me, my newest hobby I picked up was reading. And I've said that before, but it was when I started the self-improvement journey, I really needed something to challenge my way of thinking. And reading in itself, I wasn't really a big reader prior to that. So it was a new hobby that I picked up. I'm a spot reader now. Like, if I got 15 minutes to read, you know, a couple pages, I'll just put the phone down and read, because it really enlightens my mind. Maybe find a new language to study, something that just gets your mind working from what it's normally accustomed to. In the physical fitness aspect of things, it's, you know, start a new exercise routine, change your fitness regimen, make it more challenging. There's always ways to kind of change up what you're doing so that your body feels that new type of eustress. You know, make it more challenging. Your central nervous system needs that kickstart. If you're feeling bored with your workout routine, or it's just not hitting the same as it was when you first started, switch something up, you know, try some different exercises for the same body parts, but just different ones than you've normally been accustomed to doing. I also feel like a big piece of that is changing the scenery of where you're working out. You know, try a different gym, go on a hike, go on a run. I know people have this fear about going to new gyms because of what the environment is in a gym. And I think, you know, I've told many people this over just the course of having conversations about why I'm comfortable walking into any type of gym, regardless of what my fitness goals is. And it's based around everyone in the gym is there for the same reason. Everyone in there has that common goal. They're taking their fitness serious. They're taking their body serious. So when you walk in there, regardless of the shape that you're in, or, you know, if you've got muscles or you're, you know, you don't have muscles, whatever the case may be, everyone in there is in there for the same common goal. And so you shouldn't be nervous about walking into a gym. I don't know if anyone listening has that fear of going to a new gym, but I know a lot of people do and they don't speak on it. And that's kind of how I get past it. I just understand that everyone here has the same goal that I do, and it's to get better mentally and physically. In our professional lives, how do we challenge ourselves? In my mind, it's taking on a new project. If there's something you've never done at your workplace, volunteer for the project that pushes your productivity to a higher level. Ask for feedback. And I literally dealt with this as well. While I was doing the coaching opportunity, I was given tasks to complete for the coach. And it was either breaking down film or teaching a play that had been installed to me, but I had to learn how to teach it back to someone as if they never heard it. And I could have done all these things and not asked for constructive criticism on how I did, but I did the task. And I also asked, what could I have done better with this? Or is this up to the standards that you would like if I was actually on staff? And there were some things that I really messed up, and there were things that I did a great job with, but I didn't take the constructive criticism as an insult. I just took it as, okay, for the next time I do this, I'm going to have something to build upon, and it's going to be better than what I just submitted my first time doing this. It was something that I could be proud of, because when I was doing some of these things, I had a little fear about turning it in to, the head guy, because it's kind of nerve-wracking in a sense that you've never done this type of work before, but you're turning it in at a high professional level to people that are used to seeing the finished product be excellent, So I had some insecurities around my work, but once I got past that, I really just accepted it for what it was and moved on to the next thing. And that was a great experience for me. In our mental and emotional growth, I would say we add eustress by spending time doing mindfulness and meditation exercises. It actually requires mental discipline and focus to get these things done. And there's times where I've sat down to do my meditation or my journal, and my mind is just all over the place telling me I don't feel like doing it. I'm not getting anything out of it. Like, this is not worth the time that I'm spending. And I've come to the point where I'm just like, okay, if my mind's telling me that, then I actually need to do it, because now I'm in control. And it's tough sledding, like, it is what it is, because I'm going to do it, and I'm going to train my mind to be focused enough to get it done. I also feel like traveling is a great way to slowly introduce yourself to eustress. When we go to new places with new people, there can be some insecurities around where you are. You've never been to this place, or you don't know the people. Well, that's a good thing. That's a good thing when you're able to go out and explore the world and be around new people, learn how to deal with people from all walks of different lives. Like, that's a way that you create good stress for your mind and your body to adapt to that circumstance. And you're better when you come out on the other side. You always feel better when you travel somewhere, you have a great time. You were nervous at first, but you've had a great time. And now you're coming back home, and you can put that experience under your belt that you actually did it. By consciously choosing activities that can introduce positive stress into our lives, I feel like we accelerate our growth and our resilience and just our overall fulfillment, because if we didn't do those things, then we just kind of stay stagnant in our lives. And I feel like that's a even tougher spot to be in, when you don't feel like you're growing to your potential. Add the eustress, the good type of stress. I just think it's so important for us to change the way that we view stress. We've always had this negative outlook on I'm under stress. Well, there is a type of stress that is negative. It's distress, but look at challenging things as eustress or good stress that is propelling you to reach your achievements or your goals. It's a good way to look at things and a good way to motivate yourself to get on the track of trying new things and really becoming better than you were at some point in your life. I hope you guys found this episode helpful and can add these things into your regimen. I appreciate you guys for listening and tuning in to For the Underdogs podcast. I hope you guys found this episode helpful and can add these things into your regimen. I appreciate you guys listening and tuning in to For the Underdogs podcast. Like, subscribe, share, all that. Peace.